you.
Spirits is the key word. Ooh, are we live? We're live, Joe.
Ba, 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 ba.
How the hell are you? This is Tequila Talk, everybody. It is where the very intelligent, talented Joe Walsh, the real rock star Joe Walsh.
By the way, Cliff, for the record, you're drinking man's tequila. I made a little margarita, so I'm drinking ladies' tequila. Sorry, babe.
That's okay. Hey, we need to start off with our shot. What are we doing a shot to this week? I'm gonna do my shot to Pam Bondi's perseverance under pressure, her intelligence, grace, wit, and charm. How about you?
Drink your shot to that. I will do my shot in scorn to every of my former right-wing media colleagues who, because of Pam Bondi, they all said, oh my God, she should be fired. She should be in jail, because they don't have the balls to say that it's Donald Trump who's behind this entire cover-up. It ain't Pam Bondi.
There you go. Excellent. Oh,
how are you, partner?
I'm doing well. I mean, there was yesterday with Pammy. She seems angry. She seems not that well informed about this whole being a lawyer thing. And maybe when she solicited that $25,000 contribution from the Trump Foundation for a super PAC, illegal, they should have known that she wasn't necessarily the right person for the job. She hadn't shot enough puppies, or had her mom write letters about how she hated her.
Yeah, but Cliff, again, she is what she is, and she was a national embarrassment yesterday for 5 hours. She was despicable, horrible, all of that. But the proof's in the pudding. Trump put out a post this morning commending her. Thank you, Pammy. You said exactly what I wanted you to say. And this goes back to my point. Everybody gets mad at Pam Bondi or Kash Patel or Kristi Noem or whoever, but on the right. But they won't point a finger at the guy fucking in charge. Pam Bondi, Cliff, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
Pam Bondi on this Epstein shit from the beginning isn't going to do anything that Trump doesn't tell her to do, right?
No, of course not. I mean, you're absolutely right. They're all like facsimiles, if I can use the word. Back in the old days, that's where we got faxes from, everybody. Facsimiles of Trump, they're just weaker, sort of not as successful at being con artists and criminals. And yes, he's a convicted felon, everybody. So I don't have to say alleged, adjudicated rapists, people accused of sexual assault of minors. But that wasn't enough evidence. I mean, nobody saw any evidence. See, you know what we're going to talk about? First of all, because we'll finish off our talk last time, just so you all know, we're going to explain the significance of my tequila, which is 1800. It's got a whole bunch of key significances, if that's a word, to both our political moment, and we're going to tell you about why 1800 was significant for tequila. And then I'm also going to get into a story about a former presidential candidate and DNC chair. And I bet you can all figure out who it is from that description. That's funny, connected to this too. And then we can talk about all sorts of shit. Joe's going to tell stories too. But
Cliff,
the first
I love this idea, and this is your bottle of tequila week, so you get to tell the story behind your tequila.
Okay, that's
bring
perfect.
It home, partner.
Let's do it. So the only thing I wanted to say was, because we had that whole riff last week on Democratic leadership. If you saw how Ted Lieu responded with, not only how he talked to her and called her, said that she committed perjury in that hearing, but then also, I need another sip too.
Hey, by the way, before, I don't want to interrupt your train of thought. You and I both love tequila.
Yeah.
Do you, again, you're more of a man than I am. Do you prefer it neat with nothing, just straight up?
I'm at the office here. I do like it with ice, actually. And so if I were there's a refrigerator down the third floor, and all the promotion for this and all the other shit, I was just like, I don't want to mess something up. I don't want to, start screaming and yelling and upset Joe. I mean, anything like that. I don't want to do that,
But you don't. You're not like I. I like tequila with a little lime juice, a little agave, a little mix. You're not that kind of guy.
No, on the rocks, man. I love it.
Cliff, can I say something that people might object to because it's probably not politically correct? But I'm going to say it anyways, and it has to do.
That's you.
It has to do with fucking alcohol. So I'm a Catholic boy. You're a Jewish boy.
Yeah.
I'm married to a Jewish woman.
So be careful what you say.
I'm treading very fucking carefully. I'm an Irish Catholic boy. We are known to be drinkers. We are drinkers, the Irish Catholic. And I got to tell you, most Jewish American dudes that I know, not real big drinkers. And my wife, my Jewish wife, will say the same thing.
So here's the deal. We're not allowed to, you know, the thing that I can't stand, and when you say political correctness, I fully agree, because we shouldn't, things that are racist, things that are sexist, we obviously should never say. But then there are things that are cultural differences, which we acknowledge in many ways, like French people eat certain kinds of food.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can say Jews like bagels. And those cultural differences, Jews are taught at a younger age to not drink, is sort of in a way that I don't think that sort of manliness in Irish households of like booze it up isn't. But I'm the one exception. And here's why.
Why?
Because my grandfather, who came over from Odessa, that Ukrainian Russian area, Jew, non-Jew, you drank because it got fucking cold. All right.
Vodka.
So I went over to his house when I was a kid, and all I remember is martini. I mean, he was always having them. And I don't know why. Maybe it came from him, but for some reason, and I'm not a big guy either, but I could always drink a lot. Like, I never threw up from alcohol. I rarely, there were definitely times where I should have had less. But, you know, I'm saying, like,
well, that's really, Cliff, that's really cool and interesting, because you grew up then like I grew up. I grew up with my parents and their buddies and my older brothers. Booze was everywhere. I mean, I got used to it.
Yeah.
And most Jewish men in this country don't grow up like that. You did. No. That's kind of
that's a very true. A lot of the ones I know did not at all.
Yeah.
So the only thing I was going to say is that when I complain about, and we'll finish that topic off, Hakeem Jeffries talked like Ted Lieu. Ted Lieu sent a tweet out after him, and he's like, you should probably resign. We're going to impeach you when we win back the majority. You're a liar. You're a perjurer. You protect pedophiles. Like, I want to hear my people speak, and we have Democrats like that. We need to elevate them. And that was,
and you and I, this has been a pet peeve of you and I for a while. You're a lifetime Dem. I'm a very new Democrat. Fucking meet the moment and fight and talk like Cliff and I are talking. Talk like regular fucking people. Now, I will say you're right, Ted Lieu. There are plenty of others. Leadership ain't there.
Right. No, leadership isn't. That committee, though, is like the best committee for it.
Eric Swalwell's dynamite
is there. Jasmine Crockett is there. Jared Moskowitz is there. Balint. I mean, that whole thing. She's like, I'm the attorney general. She's like, forgive me, I couldn't tell. I mean, that we should get leadership from that committee, because they did their jobs and they hit back. Jamie Raskin was amazing. These are people that hit back. But what are we going to talk about?
Get to your tequila 1800.
Okay,
I'm so curious.
My 1800, a little smaller bottle, but of my Blanco here, because I brought it to the office.
Love it.
All right, here's what you need to know. This stuff, and this is what connects. We'll talk about the political significance. Why I thought 1800, because that's what this show is going to be about: tying our tequila drinking to what goes on in the world.
Bingo.
So first, I'll give you the tequila background. The Beckman family who also owned Jose Cuervo. 11 generations of Mexican Jalisco, which I don't speak Spanish. Je parle français. It's a problem. I apologize. 11 generations in Jalisco, if I'm pronouncing it right, in Mexico. Here's what's key about 1800 for them, and what I loved about it is that was when they started to be able to age tequila in oak casks. Cool. So that's why they named it 1800. Now, I picked it because I thought to myself, what is the moment that we're going through politically? What is, and no one should ever associate this tequila with the crap I'm about to say, but with these billionaire predators, all of them, all right, and their whole group. Well, in 1800, we moved the capital of the United States from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C. And it had been moved earlier from New York City in 1790. And the key reason that happened, it was a compromise of 1790, but one of the key reasons was why? We didn't believe that the financial capital and the political capital should be in the same city. That would lead to corruption.
Love it.
Think about that now when you heard this group of chumps on the Supreme Court with Citizens United and this stuff, I mean, claiming to be originalists, and with the emoluments clause in there and all the rest of it, the founders were scared more than anything of money getting control over corporate money, big rich guys getting control, the billionaires of their day, over our government, because they'd seen kings sell out their empires to other kings when they got in debt and that kind of stuff. Sound familiar? Like a certain orange Jabba the King getting in debt, who went and opened casinos and could not fucking make money in places where people hand you money for nothing.
Oh my God, Cliff, I know, I'm being honest. I didn't know how you would connect that bottle of 1800 tequila to what's going on today. You did it masterfully, because Trump it's like this Epstein class. It's like the rich and power, the oligarchs, the elites. They're all part of the same thing, and they're treated differently than we are.
They are.
And they're all corrupt.
They're all corrupt. There was that time, not a big fan of Newt Gingrich, but when he called Mitt Romney a vulture capitalist, and it kind of stuck. There are people in private equity, I don't think a lot of them probably, who try to take over companies and improve them. But a lot of private equity's model is go in, fire everybody, destroy the workers there, steal their pensions, and fill it up with debt. How is that predation any different? If you think about it, the mindset of destroying people's lives is the same mindset of somebody who would be a predator on women, on young girls, on our democracy, the institutions of our democracy, like Elon Musk going and becoming a predator on those, the way he had to sign an agreement with a woman who charged him with sexual assault at SpaceX. And he signed paid and signed an agreement. It's connected. The mindset's connected. Our founders, and they had their issues and they had their problems, and I'm not saying they were perfect, but they knew the connection between wealthy individuals and destroying governments and destroying empires and countries. And they did everything they could, including moving the capital, to try. There was no internet back then, believe it or not, to try to move these things away from each other. No such thing as a lobbyist. That would have been considered to be so low class back then, to use your, I don't know if you ever saw the John Adams. It's amazing. The miniseries. He wouldn't even let his son-in-law use his name when he went out to get a job, because he was like, that would be coarse and classless. And now,
Cliff, we are a million fucking miles away from that,
aren't we?
And I say, as a former member of Congress, lobbyists rule, they rule, money rules. And people in the Trump class, Epstein class, Elon Musk class are treated differently. They're not held accountable. We're seeing that play out in real fucking time right now with this Epstein files scandal.
And every day, right? Lutnick comes. It's one day. The Secretary of the Navy, we just found. I don't even know the fucking guy's name, but I know he's in the Epstein files. Zampoli. They just had the new website come out for the Trump Kennedy Center, which makes you want to hurl. But Zampoli, whatever his fucking name is, who runs the place, also in the Epstein files.
But
they're everywhere.
But this is what's so cool about you and I. If I can pat us both on the back.
Yes.
You're a long time.
Please pat me in the back.
Hold on. Raise your glass.
Oh, how did we not drink for a little while there? Crazy.
By the way, 12-inch rule on you. That fucking glass needs to be less than 12 inches from you.
Fair.
You're a long time Dem. I'm a very new Dem. We can have conversations, and I think people listening to us now, we have a lot of new listeners and watchers. There was a day that Cliff Schecter and Joe Walsh couldn't fucking stand each other. Yeah. There was a day where Cliff Schecter and Joe Walsh were like just taking shots at each other on social media and TV, whatever. We found, you and I got to know each other, and we really liked each other.
Yes.
And then we found out that our big beliefs were fucking identical, even if we disagreed on policy.
There is that. And I think the key thing is, and this is why I think I encourage people to support what Joe is doing with his conversations, going out and just getting people to talk. When we humanize people, and we realize they are people, and look, you have taken credit, you've taken responsibility, accountability, in a way I have rarely seen anyone. I said this to you. I found an old tweet of mine to show up here when I think you were saying something. It was about 3 years ago about, something about a man without a country at that point or whatever. And I just told you how much I appreciated you, that it took what courage it took for what you did, because you just threw it away. People don't understand. Joe had a very successful like radio show. Could have done what all these other losers. I saw Joe looked earlier at some of your stuff. Saw you ripping on Scott Jennings. Enjoyed it.
Fuck Scott Jennings.
The little pants wetter himself. I mean, that guy's such a little.
But Cliff, fuck CNN. CNN knew what they were doing. They own it. They do. They've given him a platform. I don't say this a lot. I back in the day before I turned, I was on a track to replace Rush Limbaugh. I mean, I
believe it.
But I was going to be just boom. And then I walked away from all that. But here's what I was going to say. Even with all of that, there's a lot of policy you and I disagree on. You brought up money in politics and Citizens United. I got no problem with money in politics. You and I would probably have a very different campaign finance reform notion. Yeah. But like we can talk about that or any issue.
We should be able to. See, the thing is, you are sitting here in front of me, and I'm sitting in front of you. I'm trying to claim that in good faith, and I think that is the key. Is that what I can't take, and why I always was considered a dick, and Hannity called me an asshole one time. I like to.
That's a badge of honor, Cliff Schecter.
It is. I like to brag about that one. And you know, that's because when people show up in bad faith, the way someone like Scott Jennings does there, like I don't even take them serious. I wouldn't have taken Pam Bondi seriously. I would have just been ready with a bunch of mockery and whatever, because she wasn't going to answer any serious questions. You knew she wasn't, you know, but having conversations with people that I like as people that I happen to disagree with on some stuff, there are lines you can't cross. And you know what? You showed that because over those lines, you left your party. So to me, there are lines, you know, people that would overthrow our democracy and don't feel that our Constitution is something that's, you know, somewhat important, peaceful transfer of power, you know, the rule of law, which again, I didn't even get to, because the other thing that happened, why 1800 is so fucking perfect, Joe, is that in 1800 was the first peaceful transfer of power in the United States from one party to another. John Adams lost to Thomas Jefferson. They said a lot of nasty things about each other, which people don't believe, but they did back then, in pamphlet form. And guess what? He conceded, and there was a peaceful transfer of power as we moved the White House to Washington, D.C. Think about what happened on January 6th, 2021 versus what they were able to do in 1801, which was probably March settings. I think that's when it used to be that before we changed the time schedule. So
220 years later, after 1801, 220 years later, for the first time in American history, an American president lost an election and refused to accept the result. And then he committed crimes trying to overthrow the election. But again, we were on a roll, Cliff. It had never happened. You and I have been involved in really tough elections, winning and losing. But fucking you man up, you accept the will of the people, and you move on and fight another day.
Sometimes you think some shit happened. You even might think some votes got suppressed. You might even think some things happened. But in the end, as long as it seems to be basically, as you know, you fight for everyone to be able to vote. I always will do that and believe that. But when you have what you think is a fair election where people generally went out and were able to vote, able to exercise their right to do it, then yes, like not admitting that you lost something makes you the biggest loser in the world. We all lose at things. Again, this goes back to about you, what you did when you said, you know, one of my favorite things you've ever said, Joe, you'll love this. I was an asshole. Yeah. You've said that a bunch of times, and and look, I've said that in other areas of my life. We're all prone to things. I'm far from perfect. Trust me.
Well, you know what's hard, partner, is, and I got to live with this. I helped get Trump elected the first time.
Yeah.
I got to go to my fucking grave with that. And that makes me just profoundly sad, but it's why I do what I do now. But I got to live with that. But
you were sitting here saying this. You're not somebody who like grifty moved to the other side, you know, asks 127 times in everything they do, please subscribe, give me money, do this, do that. Like, that's not you. Oh. You are, you know, if anything, you're not, you are modest about it. As a Jew, I'm going to push you to ask.
Talk about stereotypes. You're right, Cliff.
I know. I can stereotype.
No, you're right.
I'm cool. But in all seriousness, that's the thing, is that you've always been genuine, and at least in your dealings with me, from the first time you reached out and you're like, I think I was sort of shocked. We'd start speaking like a little nicer to each other on Twitter. You'd start opposing Trump some of the time,
Right?
And
right.
I think I made a joke, and I looked for this tweet, and I cannot find it. Where it was one of my favorite ones I ever sent out, where I said, well, here's a plot twist: woke Joe Walsh.
Yeah.
And I can't find it anywhere. And you sent me somebody said, give me a call. And that's when you told me that you were profoundly upset with, Trump and that Republicans following him. And I could see it in some of the things you've been tweeting. And again, to call yourself an asshole, to say like, I'm going to change, to say what you've given up. I mean, that's an example. What Tom Massey is doing right now. Is an example. And I disagree with him on all sorts of shit. But like, let's call truths.
It takes two to tango. So I took a blowtorch to my career to do what was right. But Cliff, you were willing to engage with me. And I got it. Even to this day, there are plenty of people on the left and plenty of Dems. I've only been a Democrat for 9 months who are not still ready to embrace me.
Again, every time you say I've been a Democrat for 9 months, I want to make an abortion joke, and I don't. So just so you know that I'm holding back, just for my respect for you. Go ahead.
No, Thomas Massey is going through that right now, completely.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump's like supporting some primary challenge to him, right?
He is. So I was going to tell people. I mean, that's the thing. More shit goes on than you would think in Cincinnati. Yeah. I was just at my gym the other day. They've got 2 of the 6 TVs on Fox News. Somebody kill me. Like, I get it. You want to have it on one, but we need 1/3 of our TVs to be fucking Fox. You might not see it there, so it's over here. And I'm just sitting there just doing a cardio workout, and the ad comes on, slamming Massey. There's a super PAC on your side going, and I would be willing to bet any money that Slimeball Jennings is involved, because most people don't know he was Mitch McConnell's little bitch. Sorry if that offended anybody. Who came out of Louisville and has been ever. Anybody who thinks he doesn't still serve McConnell, maybe Trump now because McConnell's so old, but forever, what McConnell told him to do is what he did when he wrote that. So I promise he's involved somehow with the super PAC, because Massey's in northern Kentucky, which is just across the bridge for people who don't know. For all you New Yorkers out there, I was a New Yorker, grew up in it. It's like you go across the Washington Square Bridge, you're in New Jersey. It's the same deal. Kentucky's right across, and that's where his district is, and they are going after him hard.
And again, I love it when you and I give inside baseball. Scott, you're right. Scott Jennings in the day was what I would call a fucking rhino. He was an establishment Republican. Back in my Tea Party days, Scott Jennings hated us. We were crazy right wingers. And he realized after Trump won that if I'm going to keep getting my bread buttered and make money, I got to become MAGA. And you and I know this because we know so many people like this. We can't be this way. He plays a role. And if you play a role, you'll make money. So he says things he doesn't believe. CNN gives him a fucking platform.
That's what's so ridiculous. Because again, have somebody on in good faith. Even if there's somebody who, I don't know if you can argue for Trump in good faith. I think it's pretty impossible.
Oh, you can. No, you can. There are plenty that can.
Okay. Yeah. And if you can, put somebody on like that. But this guy, again, as you said, it was never even about like being.
Never.
He has no ideology. Like Mitch McConnell told him, we're going to spend a whole ton of money in this bill. A guy like you from the right would say, the spending is insane. Yeah. And Scott would like go after you because that's what Mitch told him to do. And I keep saying to everybody, I know how PR works. I know how politics works. You do too. That is why I know for a fact that Mitch McConnell, and all these rumors are out there, initially intended to convict Trump. And he, however long he lives, he can live with that. I think he knows what, because all his little sycophants went out and wrote pieces like the way Scott Jennings did for CNN.com on how awful Trump was. And how Trump attacked our Constitution and we couldn't put up with this and we needed to move past Trump and all this stuff.
Hey, Cliff.
That was to give Mitch cover to get the 10 votes to convict. And then Mitch chickened out.
Privately, what does Mitch McConnell think of Trump?
Oh my God.
Hates
he hates him. He thinks he's uncouth. He thinks he's despicable. He thinks.
So to everybody listening to us, Scott Jennings was Mitch's right-hand man.
Yes,
Scott Jennings felt the same way about Trump. Period.
exactly. And when Mitch told him to hate Trump and give me some cover, because there already were 57 votes to convict in the Senate, and McConnell has helped fund a lot of people. He was going to bring along, the other 9 besides himself. So they had the votes, and something changed. Whether he didn't have them in the end, even though he funded so many of them, or he chickened out, which is what I think. He just figured out Trump will go away. Well, great. That helped a lot. And so that's in the end, everybody underestimated, that this guy's an insane zealot and was always going to keep nothing. There's no barriers that stop him. He busts through walls. He doesn't see, like the rest of us do. Like, maybe that's something I shouldn't do. That's never occurred to Donald Trump.
It goes to your bigger point, partner. You talked about people of good faith, and I think our listeners need to understand there are a lot of people on cable news, and there are a lot of people on Substack and social media who are thought leaders and talkers and thinkers, whatever, who feed their audience shit they know their audience wants to hear.
Yep. It's on the left too. I hope you guys
it's on
all
the
know
left
that.
and the right. It's worse on the right, but it's on both sides.
Yep.
I could never be that way. You could never be that way.
No.
And I think that's important. It's hard for subscribers and listeners and followers. They got to decipher their way through this.
They do. But you got to be what you got to be. And it's why I knew I could never work. I could work for a campaign, for a period of time. I never worked on Capitol Hill because I was like, I would get fired a lot.
You would have gotten kicked off of Capitol
Oh my
Hill.
God. I mean, I got fired from a bunch of jobs anyhow, just because
Cliff.
campaign jobs, like somebody would scream at me for not doing something that they didn't ask me to do. And people like Scott Jennings would put their head down. So it'd be like, thank you, sir. May I have another? I'd be like, how about this? I don't know who you are. Go fuck yourself. I don't think you're a big deal. What are you, some Senate candidate or House candidate? Who the fuck are you? And then I'd get fired. And I'm not saying that's my best quality, but it is.
It's a good quality. It's an honorable quality. Do you think Pam Bondi will be fired or she'll resign?
I think that there's a very good chance of that happening. I think, it's hard to know because you have to figure out what's going on in the grease-soaked, addled Trump mind, and if he thinks that everything comes back to him, as we all know.
Always.
So if he thinks she made him look bad there, then she's gone, no matter what he's saying publicly right now. And I don't know. You've got better connections to Trump, at least through some of the people you know. I don't know. He supported her publicly, but he's done that before and then dumped people.
Yeah, so, you're right, Cliff. From the Republicans that I hear from privately who still talk to me, they've been able to move Trump on ice. They were able to convince him, Mr. President, this ICE shit is fucking killing us politically. And he listened to that. And he's adjusted what they're doing. But by the way, ICE is still going to be everywhere. But that had an impact on Trump from what Republicans have told me. On this Epstein-File stuff, with Pam Bondi is his first lieutenant out there. I mean, Donald Trump does not want these Epstein files out. He does not want names out. I don't think he'll get rid of her because she's the one standing at the gate.
Look, on the show I do Amped Up to yesterday, I think it was Julie Roginski, our friend of ours.
Yeah, love Julie.
Julie's awesome. I hope she's here somewhere. I think she said that Ellie's here. Hey, Ellie, how are you?
Oh my God, I love Ellie.
How can you not? We love, and I've got my awesome the moderators, Cynthia Rice, and we got Jim. They're awesome. Thank you guys for being here. Wait, Substack is down yet again?
No way. It was down like yesterday, right?
Yeah. I mean, of course, it would be down during our fucking thing.
Oh, swell.
Right? Oh, well, here we go. Again, we're just going to keep doing it. Who cares? Fuck them.
But Ellie Leonard is absolutely wonderful. And if you're going to follow and subscribe to somebody on Substack, it's got to be Ellie. Well, oh, my God. Lawrence just said, yep, Substack is down.
I mean,
he said we were up to 4,800 listeners on Substack alone. What the
We were already up there, and it was less than a half hour, which meant it would have kept growing, and we could have hit 6.
Oh, my God, Lawrence, does that mean that all those 48 listeners from a while ago,
4,800,
they're all gone?
Yeah, 4,800 is what it is.
4,800. So we lost our Substack audience. We think so, yes, said Lawrence. Oh my God,
Jesus
Cliff.
Christ. I mean, Joe and I, we're working our hearts out here. I mean, we're working hard, and we just Substack just, man.
Oh my God. Well, that's a big deal, Cliff. By the way, that's a great beginning audience we were growing.
I was going to say, because when I've looked at what we've done on some of those other things, if we were there, I don't know when it went down, but if it went down a couple minutes ago, if we were there before we even hit our first half hour, that thing definitively would have broken 6,000, and probably it could have gotten somewhat bigger. And then we'll see after, all on all of the other different platforms. So, we'll figure it out. But
oh God, continue.
Well, so here's the story I was going to tell, which I think you'll love. I think everybody here who loves politics will enjoy this. So I was going to tie this to my alcohol too, which is,
oh, you have a problem. Can we just say it? You have a drinking problem, and I love it.
I do.
Continue.
And my problem is I haven't had enough of this drink yet.
Go ahead. Continue. I interrupted you.
So it's all right. So back in the day, they used to have, they still have them. I haven't been to them recently, but they would have these Netroots Nation events.
Yeah.
And I would go and speak at some of these things at various iterations of them. And one time they were starting to grow in stature, and they had, they were like, well, there's even going to be a couple donors here. And because for some reason, Joe, they figured that I'm somebody who may entertain a room. I don't know why. They came in, they asked me, I said, would you like to speak to them? Good. They're all going to be, first Howard Dean's going to talk to them.
Oh, wow.
And then he's going to sit down excuse me. Sorry. First, you're going to come in, introduce Howard Dean, then he's going to talk to them, and you're going to sit down. So I try to think, all right, what can I do with this and have fun? Now, at the time, he was like this because he'd taken over the DNC, he was doing the 50 state project, which I fully support.
Yeah.
But he was fighting with Rahm Emanuel and James Carville. Yeah. And so I got up and I started speaking to the crowd, and doing, only a couple minutes. And I said, and this is just all crazy. I said to him, I said, I know they didn't get somebody famous for you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't get the big shot. I'm like, but think about it this way. Could it be worse? It could be Carville. And, Carville had been saying, fuck Howard Dean and stuff. And so everybody starts laughing, and he turns to me, and this used to be on YouTube, but they took it down. And this is why I brought it up as related to all of this. He looks at me and he goes, and he gives me Howard Dean.
Howard Dean did?
Yeah, but he was laughing like in a sarcastic, like hilarious way. He gives me one of those because he's actually a lot of fun too. Yeah. I haven't seen him around lately, but when he used to be out there doing stuff, like he had a great sense of humor, I found anyhow. So he gave me one of those, and then they re-put the YouTube video back up where they cut it just before he gave me that, which upsets me greatly that I don't have that. Yeah. But my point was, remember the scream, or think about the fact that even in a room full of donors, some reporters would have reported it. If it had gotten out of that room, that's when they felt like they had to cut the YouTube thing and all that. And think about the fucking guy we have now. Think about what we have now and how that has also changed. So it's like peaceful transfer of power, like in 1800, which didn't happen with Donald Trump, or guy doing this or screaming. And that's how much our system has gone downhill. And plus, I got to tell you a story about how when a former presidential candidate and the chair of the DNC gave me one of those, which, doesn't happen that often.
That's a riot.
And he was laughing as he was doing it, and the crowd laughed more. And eventually, I wrote speeches and op-eds for him. So it all went well.
Cliff, that's a really cool story. And it reminds me of one of my mantras is, Donald Trump did not create the divide in this country. He did not create the broken political system. He's the ugly fucking product of a broken political system. And we always need to remember that. Yes, he's the only president to interrupt the peaceful transfer of power. But I just think back to this past week. He's at a national prayer breakfast last week, and he says, you cannot be a Democrat and a person of faith. You can't be both. He said to a room full of Democrats and Republicans. And then Cliff, the National Governors Association, they come to DC once a year. They all meet with the president, all of them, no matter the party. Trump a week ago said, fuck it. I'm only inviting Republicans to the meeting.
See, this is his natural way of, and this is how he divides, because of that deep insecurity, that same buffoonish sort of
Yeah.
like grandiosity. Again, I compare him often to like Idi Amin. Like I think of like other dictators who remind me of him in the past that were complete fucking buffoons. Some of these people killed a lot of people, by the way. Pol Pot was a complete buffoon, and then took over Cambodia and forced people into camps who were intellectuals.
Trump would if he could.
Yeah, he would if he could. So it's not to say that they're not dangerous because of it, but again, that's how they do it. You divide along different lines, and you say, this has always been this bipartisan thing. Just like you don't say to states, you didn't vote for me, so I'm not giving you fucking money.
Disaster relief.
Who does that?
He does. But there's a cool ending to one of these stories. Republican governors 2 days ago said, "Fuck you, Trump. If you're not inviting our Democratic colleagues, we're canceling the meeting."
Well, that actually is like all of these little things. People, I know people want more, but they matter.
Applaud that. That's a big deal. They stood. Republican governors stood with their Democratic colleagues and gave the middle finger to Trump. I know in the grand scheme of things, not a huge deal, but that's a really big deal. That's good.
Actually, it's a bigger deal than people think, because if everybody, if Massey isn't there, if Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't get in that fight with him, if certain other Republicans like yourself don't speak up along the way, if there isn't these forms of resistance at the lower courts, unlike that fucking corrupt, bloated Supreme Court, if they end up acting like that Supreme Court does, and parade around your weirdo fucking wife, Clarence Thomas, with that Statue of Liberty hat on, and she was in a cult. She needs help. In any case, she could have been,
I knew her well.
Well, tell her I say hi, and that she should have been prosecuted, because one could even try to argue that Trump, even that was before the immunity decision over that again, you and I might disagree on this, but I think not prosecuting presidents is not in the Constitution. It was an opinion of a Nixon, like assistant attorney general, Nixon one.
I'm with you on that.
Total bullshit to me. You prosecute a president if a president does something wrong. And so he doesn't get in trouble. Speech and debate clause sort of protects some of the members of Congress, but somebody still needs to explain to me what it was that protected Ginny Thomas and Kash Patel, who were neither of those things and were involved up to here in that conspiracy.
What's so funny about this conversation is you forced me to look back. Ginny Thomas and I were good friends, and you forced me to look back. A congressman from your state of Ohio. This is hard to say. Jim Jordan and I were best friends back in the day. But I know, but I think people need to know where I come from. I mean, that's.
Listen, like I try to point out to people, anybody wants to try to figure out. And again, look, you joined that movement. I don't know even your politics before. You ran for Congress and all the years leading up to it. Like, I don't even know that part of your history. I will when I see your ass in DC in a week, 9 days, whatever the hell it is. We're gonna have some fun. But I don't even know all of that led you to that. So yes, you were joining a movement that was filled with these people.
Yes.
But my point is, anyone can have that kind of can have judgment on certain people, because I will explain to people right now how back in 2008, I wrote the book I wrote on John.
Substack is back. Substack is back, Cliff.
It's gonna be all 4,800. I'm gonna fucking murder them.
Lawrence, do all 4,800 and more now. Come back.
Yeah,
talk to me.
Lawrence, can you send each of them an email?
Lawrence, call each of them and tell them to get back on.
Yeah, if you don't, like, Joe's going to get in a bad mood, and it's going to be a little like last time.
Lose it on Lawrence.
He will just start screaming shit. Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Where the fuck were we?
I have no idea.
I know what I was going to say. I was going to admit, and again, because I think this is all important, which is, guess who I was going to have a book event when I wrote my McCain book, in 2008. I was all set to have a book event with my friend at the time, Glenn Greenwald.
Oh, wow.
Where did that fuckstick end up? Wow. I mean, he might as well, if he's not Putin's fluffer, he might as well be, I've had some judgment calls I'd like to take back on my own. So, again, I don't think any of us are perfect. And I think in the end, if your goal is to convince people to come over, to join you, to meet you in a common place, you know, even if you disagree on certain stuff, well, you've done that. I
And
mean,
just technically, partner, I was Tea Party. I'm still Tea Party. The Tea Party became MAGA. And once that happened, I was not fucking getting on that train. MAGA is the antithesis, in my mind, of the Tea Party.
no, well, it's the populist. The problem with the Tea Party is
there are a lot of
I
problems.
believe there are genuine folks. I look at someone like Kinzinger, who I know is a Tea Party guy, who I think came there and said the spending is insane and out of control. And
I know you're not a fan of him. And
no, I don't have anything against
not
Kinzinger.
Adam. I get pissed at the name I'm about to say.
Oh,
but I think he was a good Tea Partier. Was Rand Paul, even though I still get pissed at a lot of what he says.
Oh no, look, I still have a lot of. I mean, I think a lot of shit that he says I think is insane, but he stood up to Trump too. I'll give him credit on a number of things, on ICE, on some of these other things.
Massey's still Tea Party.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So again, I mean, look, this is like, I remember when they tried to go after, maybe it was in the primary, Joe Biden, because they're like, you worked with segregationist Democrats to pass that. I'm like, do you guys know what this place was like in like 1970 something? Do you understand that was half the Democratic Party back then? Were like the parties hadn't sorted it out.
They don't know, Cliff, because they're too young. So many don't know.
Well, shit, I was 2 years old. It wasn't like I knew what the fuck was going on, but people need to read some history. I mean, like, if he wanted to get economic bills passed, guess what? There were certain people that had rancid views on race that he had to work with and others had to work with. And that's the way it was. So I mean, look, I in the end, to me, is we're all on this journey and we end up in different places than we started, and politics is some of it, but it's not everything to everybody else the way it is to us. There's other things. There are many other places in life where one can be a dick and make mistakes. And I've been that person and made some of those mistakes. And I've had to, whether it's come to certain relationships with friends, whether it's come to other stuff, like, we all have to every once in a while look in the mirror about these kinds of things.
I just want, and this is why you and I bonded. I just like people who say what they think. They speak their truth. I gravitate toward people like that because that's what I am. And I can't stand bullshitters. I can't stand people who feed me shit they really don't believe.
That's the thing, right? Like I don't, again, like, we could beat up on Scott Jennings again because it's fun. And he probably got beaten up in high school and shoved in a locker.
Totally.
It looks like he was born in fucking docksiders and khakis.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, like anybody that will do that. Yeah. And there are some on the Democratic side I know of who are there like, trust me, close to Pelosi or whatever. Who are like, I don't know if they're getting paid, but I'm suspicious. And she says something and they repeat it. And it's that, and even when we are not being tough enough, same thing with our leadership right now, when we're not fighting enough. So it is, it is much worse on the Republican side, but that's not to say it doesn't exist on our side.
And by the way, Cliff, when you talk about leadership, let's be clear. Chuck Schumer's got to fucking go.
Oh my God.
That's easy. But maybe you and I disagree on this. I don't think Hakeem Jeffries is made for this moment at all.
No, we don't disagree. I think he's got to go too.
Okay.
I told you, like, I saw what Ted Lieu said. I said, again, you guys, anybody can pick people, whether they're from the left part of the party, center left, whatever. So I'll give a variety. Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Dan Goldman, Jared Moskowitz. Jared Moskowitz is actually, as much as he's hilarious and makes fun of, he's one of the more conservative Democrats.
He's a moderate Dem.
He's a moderate, right? And AOC is over here. And Goldman is a little closer to Moskowitz, but sort of in the middle. Swalwell is somewhere in there. That committee that took on Bondi had really most of the people that kicked the most ass in the Democratic Party. And any one of those people I just named, plus Ted Lieu, I mentioned before, I would give anything for one of them with that kind of moral clarity. Jamie Raskin, would be fantastic, who says stuff like it is. And when Pam Bondi is being an idiot, tells them they're being an idiot like he did.
And by the way, in the Senate, Cliff, Chris Murphy has always stood out to me.
I love him. He's the guy. He's one of, like, I'd say 3 or 4 that I would pick right now. He's had so much clarity. Chris Van Hollen, Tammy Duckworth. There's a couple of them that have just been like They're not bending one bit on ice and some of the other things. And, so that's my hope, because I want to have faith and want to believe that the other folks can Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer can get there. But what tells me they can, after everything I've seen? I don't believe they're going to live up to what we need, which is a hard-edged messaging operation hitting the fucking, the lunatics like Bondi. You have a day like yesterday with Bondi, that night should have just been like hellfire missiles launched at them. Digital ads everywhere, people out, like out in the street holding press conferences, shit, send out like carrier pigeons. I don't care. Every way possible that you could do it, you should be doing it.
So one stupid political thing to think about, it's not important, is what AOC does. If AOC decided to run for the Senate in 28, Schumer wouldn't even run against her. Or will AOC run?
I don't think he is going to run. I think he leaves.
I think he leaves no matter what.
Oh yeah, Durbin, his second in command, who may even be weaker than him, is on the way out. Who is always, hi, look, the Republicans discovered the filibuster for the Supreme Court. We're going to keep the blue slips. It's maddening.
Hey, Mr. Democrat, point blank question right now. Answer it. Your answer could change. AOC, should she run for the Senate or run for president?
Oh, good question. I think I would go with Senate, because I think she can build a profile from there. If she's a senator in New York, she'll build power in that, and she can get to that position. I would go for that first.
Okay. And by the way, here's a second tough question.
And that's nothing to do with AOC. I just watched a pretty cool movie they made about James Garfield. Turns out he's a pretty good dude. Yeah. I don't know if you watched that one or not. And he's the last one that I know of that went straight from Congress to the House to I'm not saying today we've got social media and everything. I just think maybe some time in the Senate would help.
So I'm going to ask each of us, another tough question. And understand, I'm a new Democrat. I'm still a Tea Party conservative Democrat. Cliff is I'd call you a moderate Democrat.
I usually say I call myself either liberal or center left. I'm not a leftist.
Okay. Could AOC, if she were the presidential nominee in 28, get elected?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't think you'd say that, because my answer is absolutely she could.
Yeah, no, I absolutely think so, because people don't understand, this, the importance of the quality of candidates. It is not just about what you're saying. Think about all the things that they could say and did say. And I don't know, you might have said some of them, but I'm not going to look it up because I want to believe that you didn't, about Barack Obama. Think of all the things one could do. A guy named Barack Hussein Obama running and all of that, but he was so gifted politically. Whatever you want to say, any people can disagree with his policies, agree with them. I agree with many more than I disagree with, but I think, one big not looking back at the Bush administration, I think was a bad moment, because it helped get us here. Those torturers we should have done something about the laws that were broken. And the second thing I would say is bailing out the car companies, but not people who lost their homes. You want to have any populist support, that's a fucking bad look, and it's wrong too. It harms people. But I think Obama did a lot of great things. And look, he got elected to that position, and you would think everything is going against him. I would think the same thing with AOC. What drives Republicans crazy, she has such talent. She's such a good messenger. She is so not afraid of anything.
Look, I'll agree with you, Cliff, and her politics are not my politics, but she's a politically gifted person.
Yeah, completely. She's to the left of me too, and I would agree with a lot. Smart. I'd agree with a lot of what she did. I disagree with some, but again, I'm rating people as candidates right now, right? Yeah. I can give people in various wings of the party and say they're good, and and that's what there is. So yeah, no, listen, at this point, I absolutely, if Schumer decided to stick in it and I were in New York, I'd vote for her over Schumer in a freaking second.
In a heartbeat. Can I bring this to a close?
You can.
only because.
Oh, that's right. You have to leave a little. We don't have as much
Well,
time.
and
as I thought.
also, we'll talk about it. I'm not public about this, but yours truly has some prostate issues, and right now, Cliff, I got to say it. I've had some prostate issues.
Dude, Donald
I-
Trump
I-
he just poops himself all the time. You can go. You can pee. It's good.
I am literally gonna pee in my pants in a couple minutes. So you bring us to a close, jerk.
Hey, listen.
Hurry up.
So I'm just kidding. This has been a great episode of Joe Has to Pee in His Pants of tequila talk. Niagara Falls. Oh, did I say? Okay, I'm not going to say it. You're being hysterical right now.
No,
I love this guy. This has been a great episode. We didn't have any of the issues. We had different issues this time, but almost 5,000 on Substack. We'll find out the people everywhere else. I think this show is going to grow. We're going to keep talking about tequila. We're going to keep relating tequila, telling you stories about it, but relating it to American history, to American moments,
Bingo.
to what makes us American. That there was a peaceful transfer of power in 1800. There was, again, like we moved the capital to not have financial corruption.
Amen.
And Joe has to pee.
I have to pee, and the last thing I'm going to say, Cliff, is I blame Lawrence for Substack shutting down. I blame Lawrence. Let the record show.
You should. I'm going to blame Lawrence too, because you guys played that trick on me earlier. We didn't even tell people about.
We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next time. Hey, thank you so much for being here, buddy.
Thanks, partner.
Folks,
love ya. I got to go pee.
All right, you go pee. I will just say goodbye, everybody, quickly. Thanks for joining us here.
Bye.
I don't think Joe still has a mic on. We won't get one of those naked gun moments, which would be kind of funny if we got to hear him talk and pee. Oh, look at that. Jim, that was nice of you putting that up there. For everybody, subscribe to Joe. He has had a real change. He is a real person. I don't just forgive anybody for, who supported some of these things in the past. And the fact of the matter is he's changed and he realized where he was wrong. I'd like to think, again, I'm far from perfect. I've done that in certain areas of my life. So again, I don't even look at that. I got to finish this one up, guys. 1800, peaceful transfer of power, moving the capital to DC, where it became the swamp, even though it wasn't in New York anymore. And 220 years later, look at the shit that we got. A guy from New York, and I'm from New York, so I can say this, who went to DC and brought that side of New York with him, the sleazy corporate monopoly, destroy us side, among many other horrible traits. All right. I hope you've enjoyed this edition. We will be back next Thursday, 6 to 7 for Tequila Talk. Maybe even have a guest here and there. We're figuring this out as we go along, but you will get tequila. We will drink it. We will laugh. We will mock people on the right who suck. We'll talk about some other things. Corporate media sucks, as we did today. And we will also make sure to tell you about the great drink of tequila and say, you really ought to try it. It's fucking good, guys. And right now, in the mood that we're all in, it's Mexican. If you want to piss Trump off, it's a good way to do it. I should probably finish this before I end the show. Thank you for being here. And my friends, as the sun sets slowly in the west, let's see if I can make it work the way I do on my show. Is there? Wait, we can't really. As the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you all a fond